officials and czars of officiating. Everybody's coming out now and saying we all blew the call was blown. And, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. You always hate when you see games that come down to stuff like this. But as the Lions and Coach Caldwell brought up, there's more than one play. But that's a coach cliche. You can say more than one play cost you the game, but in real life, sometimes one play really is all that changes everything.
Yeah, and what kills me is that, obviously the Cowboys won the game. Nobody's disputing that fact, whether there were bad calls or not. But when you have Cowboy fans and the Cowboy organization themselves coming out and saying everybody's just whining because we're Dallas Cowboys and we won and people don't like us, take a good look at that game again. And, and I said this to a very good friend of mine who's also in the sphere, a lot younger than me and a lot younger than you, but who's been a Cowboy fan since he's about a year old. And I tried to explain to this guy that, there were mistakes made by the refs, whether you want to admit that or not. That's what happened. And, you're in a game situation now, you're in a divisional game that maybe you didn't deserve to win to get there. And that's what the Detroit Lions and their fans and their players and their organization is upset about, because they played their best game. If you ask me, they played a game as good as that NFC Championship game in 1991 when they lost to the Redskins. They haven't been this good since then. And for them to not be advancing, is a crying shame. And obviously we just have to deal with it. That's the way the ball bounces. That's why they call it football. That's why you play the games. But obviously there has to be some kind of correction going forward with the refs. This is always an issue whenever the refs are involved in a controversial call.
And not just that, correction in the process, because the flag and then picking it up and the big delay and Des Bryant coming out onto the field, which was a whole nother aspect, because people say, hey, man, how does this guy come way out of the box there? He should be flagged for doing what he's doing. And so, that I think if nothing else, and Jim Caldwell did say this, he said, you hate to look at it now. I mean, obviously there's nothing we can do, but at worst case, you hope that at least the process gets tweaked where, this doesn't necessarily happen the way it did before. But I mean, this is no different than a conversation we could have after a lot of big games. There's always a controversial call here and there, and you tweak it if you can and move forward, but life goes on. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and it's not like the Cowboys catch the breaks in the playoffs very often. They happen to this time, and all it did was got them dead smack in the eyes of one of the best offenses in the NFL, and now they get to go to the frozen tundra. And last time Dallas, I mentioned this yesterday, last time Dallas played a playoff game in Green Bay, it was the Ice Bowl back in '67. Right. It's been that long, and so you got two storied franchises. But say what you want about the home cooking or whatever in the dome, Dallas will have to earn this one. They're going to have to go beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in Green Bay in a frozen week. Talk about a rematch of the Ice Bowl. It's in the single digits all week this week leading up to that one.
Yeah, it is. And, it's funny you bring that up, because that was probably one of the first playoff games that I watched on TV with my dad when I was knee-high to my height now. And I remember how cold that was, and my dad explained to me that football is different from all other sports because it's played outdoors in the cold weather. As hardy as soccer players are in the rest of the world, where they call soccer football, they still don't play it, on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field like the NFL has played, to quote that well-often used cliche.
I'm telling you, man, that might have been the thing that attracted me growing up first, most of anything else, to football, is the fact it didn't matter. Rain could ruin your baseball game, and you could show up and be told we're not playing today. But that was the one where the court gets wet. If the ice leaks underneath on basketball, we can't play the basketball game. But football's the only one where, short of the world imploding upon itself, you're going to show up and you're going to watch that game. We're not going to not play. It's all elements. I'm with you, man. I always dug the fact as a kid that it doesn't matter if it's ice, snow, mud, whatever. We're playing us some football, man. So it's all elements, and we're going to get to see that. And I love, by the way, I'm a guy that loves cold weather football. I like to watch it in a blizzard. I like to watch it even when it's not snowing. I just like to watch those frozen Green Bay and Cleveland games where everybody's steaming, and you know what I mean? You can see the fog off of everything, and when you get those good slow motion NFL video shots where the center's down over the ball and the steam's literally coming off of his body, and I love that kind of stuff, man. But anyway, so this stuff works for me. Cold weather, playoff football, all of that, man. You know what? Something else too. Your Cardinals. Let's segue there for a little bit. The other NFC matchup from last weekend. Wow, record-setting futility offensively. And you know what? Not to be unexpected, to be totally honest about it, with all the problems they've had at quarterback, and they didn't even know who was going to quarterback going into this thing for a couple of days. And it added up to just an all-time worst offensive performance for the Cardinals, and Carolina ate them up, and they've now won 5 in a row to move on to the end of their season coming up against the Seahawks. But Carolina, man, took care of business. It's a shame to see the season go the way it did for Coach Arians and the Cardinals, but you could see this coming weeks ago. I think everybody knew that the loss of the quarterbacks was going to be the downfall of that team.
Yeah, no question. And I think at this point, you can't really Monday morning quarterback, in this case it's Tuesday morning, you can't really Tuesday morning quarterback Arians to keep Lindley in the game, but without Palmer or Stanton being there, and I think it was ridiculous they were going to try to bring Kurt Warner back for the playoffs. I mean, come on. The guy's lucky that, when he wakes up in the morning, he's not seeing triple vision after all the hits he took on the noggin. And that's a whole other issue. We could do an entire show, you and I, on football injuries, Jerry. You know that. But we have guys in this league they're good people and they understand the game and they're not horrible quarterbacks. But in the playoffs, you need a very good to a great quarterback. And Ryan Lindley is not that great quarterback. And, hey, you got to give him credit. They tried. But I would have left the other kid in after he ran those couple of plays where he looked really good. If I would have made that decision like in the third quarter if I were Arians. Not that I don't want to support Ryan Lindley, but, hey, you want to go with the guy. You're always saying next man up. You want to go with the guy that gives you the best opportunity to win, and you kind of left him out when he was shell-shocked, running around there in the field, getting rocks thrown at him, Oh,
absolutely. No, I'm with you there, man. And, it adds up to, as I said, end of the day, it's a shame to see it go, but that ended their season there, and still a successful season for them. Either team was going to have a challenge here coming up in the next round of the playoffs, and boom, coming up on it. Here you go, Seattle now for Carolina. Can Carolina look, I'm a Seahawks guy. I clearly have them winning this game in my predictions, but Carolina has been as hot as anybody for the last 5 weeks. They've had to win their way through, and they showed a good commitment to running the ball last week against the Arizona defense as well. But what are your thoughts there, Carolina? I think it ends for them here this week, but here they sit. Technically, they're 500 now, but in the regular season, they're 7-8-1, and they advance now to the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I think this is it for them, and they should be proud of the run that they've made as far as things go. I still think Newton has a long way to go before he's a real bona fide NFL talented quarterback. I think he is getting there. I think the immaturity level is one thing that's holding him back, and obviously Cleveland Brown fans know from that story as well, when we get to them in a little bit. But, I can't see them beating Seattle as good as they did play against the Cardinals. I can't see them beating Seattle. So I'm going to tell you, while it's a good competitive game, and I don't like to root for Seattle either, but I think they're the better team. And I think their defense matches up better with Carolina's offense than people really want to give them credit to. And, I was texting with Phil Simms the other day because I maintain a pretty good relationship with him since his days with the Giants. And, he said to me, He said to me, it reminds me a little bit of the Eli and the Giants in 2007 when they were the wild card team and nobody gave them a shot. So, that's just one guy's take who's played quarterback in the NFL for a long time. So,
I mean, just curious. I mean, I'm with you, man. I think Seattle takes this. I've got them no doubt taking it. But, I mean, what are the odds? What would you put the odds that Seattle gets upset here by the under 500 team in the playoffs?
25% or less.
This is just a silly question.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't that go down? I'm just saying, projecting ahead. Let's say Carolina somehow took care of that business, man. Wouldn't that be on the list of biggest playoff upsets of all time? You've got the
no question.
Champions.
That would be right up there.
Home.
That would be right up there with the Bills Houston game.
That's what I'm saying. That's got to be. If you pull, and which is no good if you're looking at it from the other side of the mountain that you've got to climb, but that would be all-time epic level upset right there to knock off the defending champs in the house where they don't get beat, and you're a sub-500 team that everybody mocked heading into the playoffs. I don't see it happening at all, not even close, but the possibility is out there for one of the biggest upsets in playoff history. I think playoff history, period. I think that would be bigger for sure than an 8 knocking out a 1 in the NBA playoffs or something like that. Like, I know that seems like a big upset too, but to me, that's an even bigger upset there. But I don't think we have to worry about it because I think Seattle takes care of that business. I think we're looking at the championship game that I saw about 8 weeks ago, man. Seattle, Green Bay, man. I think that's going to be your NFC title game right there, and that's going to be one for the ages for sure, man. And then over in the AFC, you've got, man, this is a traditional 4 pretty much at this point. These are teams that you're used to hearing in this final level here, Final 4. Obviously, on one side, Baltimore takes care of business in Pittsburgh, goes on the road, does what they have to do, set themselves up now with a lineup here with the New England Patriots. What are your thoughts there? Ravens and Patriots. Ravens, they haven't been playing very well on the road traditionally the last couple of seasons, really. Took care of it this past weekend when they went to Pittsburgh, but now you've got a much different obstacle in front of you. You've got the Patriots. Patriots are even worse when they've had time to get ready for you and prepare. What are you looking for out of this one, Ravens and Patriots here on Saturday?
That's also going to be a very close game. If there's any team that could upset New England, it's Baltimore. Okay, and they have done it before. Have they done it with this much on the line? That's the question. Can they make it happen here is the big deal now. And when you look at, going back to last week's game, when you look at what they did to Pittsburgh, and you realize that as good a coach as Tomlin is, and as good a coaching staff as that is with guys like Dick LeBeau over there, you just see that Pittsburgh didn't have what Baltimore has. I really think that Baltimore could be the dark horse here to go all the way.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you. Oh, yeah. I mean, I hear you. I'm definitely not sleeping on them. Problem is that every time I sleep on New England, they wake me up real quick. They wake everybody up real quick. That's going to be a fight, I'll tell you, man. I think that, I'll tell you what, I look at New England and Baltimore as perhaps being the best of the 4 games coming up this weekend of an actual best football game.
It's a bloodbath, Jerry. It's going to be a bloodbath. Yeah. You're going to see broken bones and all kinds of stuff, penalties, fights. And listen, I look at it like this. Not that Tom Brady is not a great quarterback. He is. But he doesn't have the supporting cast around him that he had in previous years. And who would have expected Justin Forsett to be such a great player? We knew he had talent, but to step into this role, to step into the shoes of Ray Rice, and have at least as good, if not a better season for a guy like Justin Forsett. And come on, Flacco is not perfect. He makes mistakes, but there are enough guys around him that he does not have to put the game on his back and win. Brady sometimes has to put the game on his back to win.
Yeah, but the thing is he can't.
You can't make that work against every team.
Yeah, but he can do that more than he can't. And also, I do. The other thing that I lean towards the Patriots is the Le'Veon Bell thing. I mean, obviously, that's game-changing stuff right there as well for, the way the game played itself out. And Ben Tate, as I see